Complete demolition job by India in Kolkata. And this is probably their way to show that while the rest of you are calculating net run rate, trying to somehow sneak into that top four spot, you can fight amongst yourselves. We are going straight to the number one position and we are gunning for the trophy. We're not playing for semifinals, we're not playing for the final spot anymore. We're just trying to win the trophy.
Yeah.
Fardin and I here to discuss that in today's episode of The Morning After. So, Fardin, where does this put India?
Yeah.
Completely dominating this tournament.
Yeah. We are favorites, right? End of the day, South Africa looked like a really good team up until they came across the Indian pace attack today, and just India pace attack essentially continued on from where they were last game against Sri Lanka. We're getting 50 all out, 55 all out, 243 run win today. Um, yeah, it's just through and through favorites.
Let's start from the very beginning. Was this the best approach that the Indian openers could take? Both Rohit and Gill tried to be positive from the get-go. It helps that they're both in pretty good form. And
Yeah.
does it also help to set the right approach against this South African bowling attack that's been exceptionally good with the new ball? Is this the best approach where you just attack from ball one and, sort of get them into the wrong mindset?
Yeah, especially today they didn't have a Quidza, so they didn't have that enforcer type of bowler. So all your through and through swing bowlers or hit the deck, not hit the deck, more of like, change up bowlers are always gonna be under pressure if you put that pressure back on them from ball one. And that's kind of what Rohit's 40 of 24 did initially, right? He was just going after everything and what 6-4 is 2 6s, I think. He had so freaking 36 of his runs came off boundaries. Shubman Gill basically continuing where he left off. Um, like you said, against this South African bowling lineup, because they're gonna be a little bit intimidating, they're gonna be a little bit, up your face kind of when bowling attack. You put the pressure back on, you never know what happens. And once again, as we saw, they're not the best chasing side. So you get runs on board, things can happen for you.
Coming now, of course, to Virat Kohli.
Yeah.
Don't have too many words to describe this. 277 innings is what it took for him to get to Sachin Tendulkar's record of 49 ODI centuries. Let's talk about the positive aspects first, and then we'll talk about some of the things which are being critiqued
Yeah.
about this knock.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the positives first. Remarkable, absolutely remarkable achievement.
Yeah. 49 hundreds, right? You can talk about the what 2.5 years of downtime he had, where you probably thought he's never getting there, is this time up and things like that. But he's come back. He's come back really good in the last year and a half, 16 months, you could say. And he's really put those numbers back up. I mean, today's knock, once again, similar to last game, similar to basically the whole World Cup. He's just in a rich vein of form. He's playing at home. He feeds off crowd energy and things like that. And you can see in India, 1 billion people feed off Virat Kohli's energy. And they feed off their whole day depends on if Kohli gets 100 or not. So, those are things that work in his favor, and he made use of it. And like you said, there are things that will be critiqued, especially against a team if they had lost the game, which would have been more, I guess, magnified.
Slow centuries are criticized when the team ends up losing, or even when the game comes close and
Mm, mm,
somehow the batting team remains over the line. Whatever. In either situation, it's always about the result and how the overall match turns out. So let's think about it this way. Sachin Tendulkar but is actually right now when people remember Sachin Tendulkar's 49th ODI century
this is the one against South
against
Africa,
Bangladesh.
right? Or no,
That was
Bangladesh.
against Bangladesh.
Bangladesh. Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay.
So that is heavily, heavily criticized because Bangladesh ended up winning the match. Now think about it this way. In Mirpur was, of course, a much more sporting wicket back then, but
At
even
that
then it
time.
wasn't
Yeah,
as
yeah,
easy to bat on.
yeah,
Think about it this way, on that Mirpur wicket, you
yeah.
get 290 odd against Bangladesh, and we know Bangladesh aren't good at chasing. We know that Bangladesh at no point in time, or at least not at that point in time,
Had chased something like that,
had chased
probably.
something
Yeah,
like that against a
yeah,
team of India's caliber.
yeah,
They just weren't as formidable a batting lineup, period.
yeah. They had a lot
So
of
for
talent.
that,
Yeah, but yeah,
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 for
yeah,
that, Sachin Tendulkar may not have guessed how well the Bangladesh batters would turn up in the next day.
yeah,
You compare that to Kohli's knock today.
yeah,
These South African guys, I know that South Africa struggle when chasing, but the South
yeah,
African batters are still in remarkable form, and
yeah.
getting 327 isn't a very difficult challenge for them.
No, no.
The conditions weren't super easy to bat on, but it didn't really have too much for the Pacers in terms of pace and bounce. Keeping all that in mind, how difficult is it for a batter to set the right tempo or the necessary tempo when the team is batting first?
Yeah. You remember the 100 Daryl Mitchell got when New Zealand were batting first, and how Simon Dewell on live he basically criticized it and he said, he's taking his time getting to 100 here. If New Zealand lose by a couple of wickets, it's gonna come back to this because they didn't put 40 more runs on the board. New Zealand lost by 4 wickets. And you could say they were a wicket away from getting into the tail enders, right? And things can happen in that stage. Similarly, today, it was kind of frustrating, I could say. And like our viewers, there are a few guys who are gonna hate it because they're gonna complain about us talking about this again. But I don't care. Well, the thing is, if you're not setting the right tempo, you're not getting to a total that is safe. They might think 326 is safe, right? But with this South African batting lineup, 326 might not be safe, actually, right? And so for you to essentially, you could, this is not to take anything away from Virat Kohli and his 49 test, ODI hundreds, but you could see for the first time, maybe in a batting first situation, Virat Kohli was thinking about his 100. And that took precedence for him over the team score. And I will go on record saying this because I have not seen Kohli do that in his career ever because he's always prioritized scoring the runs that was necessary and yeah 100 will come this that, but today I could tell 100% he wanted that 100 and he wanted this record to be his, and that's what he prioritized.
Moving now to Shreyas Iyer, how much confidence does this give him against a team? I know, as we said, the pitch wasn't offering as much
As
pace and
much,
bounce,
yeah, yeah.
but he still ended up performing against a team with pacers who are known to trouble the batters with the short ball every now and then. So, how much confidence can he get out of this?
Yes, massive. I think he's basically gone on an interview and said he doesn't have a short ball problem. Right. And especially if you're saying that as a player that you don't have a specific weakness. And one of the things he said is right, but it is also, if you put it back on him, it works against him is, oh yeah, if you're playing a lot of shots, you are gonna get out somewhere or the another. Whereas you could ask him, you're getting caught in the 30-yard circle basically for all short balls. That means you're not timing the ball and you're uncomfortable. But yeah, I mean, not to take anything away from his innings, 100%, there was not much for the Pacers at all. So for him to get a knock like this still does give him confidence, especially we know India's playoffs jitters always come into play. So there will be some dependency of some sort in the middle order, and Shreyas will play a big part in that, especially now with Hardik gone for sure.
Keshav Maharaj, the biggest positive for South Africa today.
Freaking Jansen was bowling on a different pitch, and Keshav Maharaj was bowling on a different pitch. Honestly, no, I think Maharaj. One of the things I noticed in this World Cup is a lot of guys with knowledge about Indian pitches, knowledge and experience on Indian pitches. Someone like Ravindra was in India for 6 weeks in the summer. Maharaj is obviously of Indian descent, but he's done a lot of work in Hyderabad and Goa, I think. Can't remember. But he's done like some personal work in some states in India where he's gone by himself and done some work. So you can see those experiences translating into performances at the World Cup. And it makes a lot of difference for your team as a whole and for your captain when you're putting in these numbers, right? So yeah, I mean, 10 overs 30 in a 326 game is exceptional, especially when, I don't know, Shamsi didn't look really threatening at all. Just looked out of place.
Nothing, literally nothing to talk about the South African batters. From India's perspective, it's a good thing that they tried to change things up a bit and brought Ravindra Jadeja as the first change bowler,
Yeah.
given the conditions were favoring spinners, and he performed exceptionally well, easily his best performance of the World Cup, with
Yeah,
the ball at least.
yeah. What was it? Maybe 10 months ago or something. There were some talks about Akshar Patel getting a nod over Jadeja in some situations, in some pitches, because he was performing a little better with the bat. You know, he's a true and true all-rounder with the ball. And obviously, like him and Akshar were pretty much the same, and Ravindra Jadeja wasn't giving the same output with the ball that they were hoping for. Fortunes have changed, obviously, in the World Cup. One of the funniest things is when he got Klaasen's wicket, their review, Rohit was like, "Yo, this is the only batsman they have. Can we review this properly or not?" Uh, but yeah, I mean, uh, I think, like we said early in the show, on one of our first few episodes, is spinners are gonna come into play a lot more towards the end of the tournament, and we're seeing that clearly translate into how good spinners are making use of it. And throw down spinners are not gonna do anything. But good spinners who know how to make use of the track are definitely getting purchased, and Jadeja is one of them. Is it a shame Ashwin's not playing? Who knows? They're not needing him at the moment, so it doesn't matter.
Would this have been a good opportunity, now that you've brought up the topic, would this have been a good opportunity to just try out Ashwin today?
Yeah, I mean, given that they have Decog, Miller, why not? Uh, and because he has the bag of tricks, he bowls carom balls, so he can bring it in and bring it out from the right-handers too. Why not give it a go? I think they might try that eventually in the Netherlands game, just so he has some game time in case they need him. But strategic scheduling, eh? A Netherlands game, the last game, just in case.
I mean, India
Funniest.
could even lose that and give a free point to Netherlands and invite them to the Champions Trophy for all we know.
Yeah, I
Very
mean,
India-like, but
but
you never know.
yeah, one of the funny things is actually today in one of the group chats, when Klassen got LBW, I was basically pissed off because it did not look like it was pitching in line, right? Initial angles, he's standing outside leg stump. We've had a couple of close DRS calls this World Cup. I think more than ICC and more than Hawkeye would like it to be. It's not good for the future of DRS because a lot of people always complain. We know BCCI didn't support DRS until Virat Kohli became captain, essentially, right? So it's not a good look. Some guys got sentimental because I pointed out that in an India game, DRS was acting up while India was bowling. I was like, bro, you guys point out when Rasi or Steve Smith gets LBW, and I can't point out when India gets a wicket because of a DRS possible error. You know, it's like, yeah, some people be getting edgy, that they're on the edge about these topics. And one of the things I said was, yo, I didn't even say anything and you got edgy about it. What does that say?
Both South Africa and India have, of course, qualified for the semifinals.
Yeah.
Where does this put them? Where does today's match put them?
I think where South Africa messed up today was not going aggressive, not really trying to go for the target. They just looked out of sorts completely. Um, Going into the semis and finals, I think the approach is what was wrong because going into semis and finals, they might have to chase both days. What are you going to do after playing such a good World Cup? You're just going to give it up because you have this mental block or whatever it might be that you can't chase, right? And Ricky Ponting was talking about it that sometimes when bowlers are bowling so well, it's not the defense that comes into play. It's like Rassi was there for his defense. He was there for the line of the ball. It just swung in a lot more. Had he tried to move down the track, things that Ben Stokes does really well, Travis Head does really well, David Warner does really well, is when the ball's moving around, when guys are bowling really well, they're moving across, moving down the crease, trying to make things happen. So I think that's where it puts South Africa. Just a shame that they, what is it? This is their second last game, right? Yeah. So not a good time for this to happen for them. But yeah, I think they're still hopeful of making it to the final.
And I think that pretty much concludes our discussion today. Thank you very much, Fardin. And tomorrow we'll be back with a very interesting encounter, which has unfortunately been named as the Nagin Derby.
Encounter, the Nagin Derby. Sorry.
Nagin Derby.
Yes.
So we'll be back with Bangladesh versus Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka apparently are still alive in the tournament somehow, but Bangladesh definitely
Yeah, I
aren't.
mean, mathematically, England was still alive until they faced Australia yesterday. So, yeah, mathematically, yeah, a lot of teams are still alive, but Pakistan is Kudrat in Islam.
So as for Sri Lanka, they will definitely be trying to secure that Champions Trophy spot, same as Bangladesh, who I'm not even sure whether they're aware of that or not, but whatever.
A
We'll be back
lot to
tomorrow. So,
unpack about that because there are a few articles and interviews that came out since last game.
at this point, I'm just waiting for the World Cup to end and see if the players live up to their promise. Those who made it to the press conference and said that we're going to say certain things after the World
After,
Cup.
yeah. I just want the tea. Yeah. We want the
Mhm.
tea. And
They're not going to
also
say anything. I've seen this dance before. They don't say anything. It's just a
nothing.
farce, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Also, our Ask BA hashtag Ask BA episode is coming up soon. We're gonna probably record that sometime this week, and we'll have that out to you guys. There were a lot of good questions in the comment section, so yeah.
Thank you very much. We hope to see you again tomorrow.